All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who has reached out to me. I appreciate all the love from family, friends, sponsors, and everyone here over the last 13 days. You can kind of see how the steroids have kind of taken its run here in the last 13 days. I'm starting to come off the steroid here in this recovery. Pretty crazy thing. To consider when you're out on the water, and you know you don't know really what you're going to come up to, especially when you're doing these long river bassin floats, and or you're kayaking in or even if you're on a john boat or anything, gas boat, or, on the river, in new areas. And so it's been a pretty rough like 13 days, 14 days. But we're getting back at it. I'm going to miss the tournament tomorrow, just on the recommendations for Southwest Virginia Yackers. It's in Smalley only tourney. You're all waters eligible below, I think, the Ford parallel. So everything below Maryland, West Virginia down, all the way to like Alabama and all that stuff is eligible for Southwest Virginia Yackers for Smallies. You can find that on Tourney X. I'm also going to do some things with the benefit tournament for that group, for some sponsorships on the 23rd. For that, we also have some things we're going to do sponsoring wise for the Battle of the Frogs in August for Legion of Anglers on the Mattawoman, on the Potomac, which is a snakehead and a largemouth bass event there. So we got some things, taken care of. So it's pretty, it's been pretty busy, even though haven't been able to get out on the water, but looking forward to get back on the water. So let me tell you something, okay? Just a lesson learned that doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter. I was fortunate enough to have 90% of my body covered going down the river, except for my face, when debris was being burned on the side of the river. We've had a lot of flooding, so a lot of people go in with chainsaws. A lot of people go in and burn out down timber, all of that stuff. The problem with that is, in a lot of places, it's illegal to begin with. And the second part is, if you're not properly protected, this is what happens, okay? The chemicals get released from inside everything, from poison oak, poison ivy, Virginia creeper, whatever plant life from a botany perspective you can think of. Those oils get released into the aromatics, okay? And you endanger people on the river. And I was not the only one that day. And I know of, through contacts and sources and authorities and the government and law enforcement and all of those things, that, you know what? People do stupid shit. And sometimes you can't mitigate yourself from people doing stupid shit, except for to make sure that you move to the other side of the river, or you stop, you retrace, when you smell something in the air, like, those are the things that you have to do. And we all think we're smart, I didn't really think much of it. Like, I just wanted to go fishing, right? And then 24 hours later, I'll post a video on my Facebook page, because it's kind of gruesome, charting every day of this, because someone asked me to do that. One of my friends, it's a fisherman that's a doctor, that I met up on social media, just asked me to document, take a picture every day, because he wants to do something with it, and that's fine with me. But it's like, my eyes were completely closed, okay, for 2.5 to 3 days. Like, literally. That's how bad it was. And it wasn't even that prolific in the air, okay? And so, thank you again to my sponsors. Thank you again to all my friends, my family, especially my wife, my daughter, basically taking care of me for the last 13 days, making sure I got everything that I need, making sure they've communicated to people, making sure, running to the post office, making sure stuff gets shipped out, making sure, I'm taken care of. Um, can't express the amount of love I have for all of those people and for the people that are close to me, that cared enough to reach out. And while we're getting through this, and this is just what happens, people get injured all the time, and sometimes it's the weirdest of chain of events that you would never think of, coming off the water, having a pretty good day, not thinking about it. And then like 12 to 24 hours, you start to feel weird. And then all of a sudden it hits you and you are completely just wiped out. And when it's this region, it's not like your legs and your arms when you get poison ivy, poison oak, or any of those other kinds of chemical, the oils that are in that a lot of times. I was fortunate enough to have some very smart people around me to keep it on my face in my community. For those of you who do not have someone, please, if you're going out on the river, look at the 4th of July and how many boating accidents there were. Okay, how many kayak accidents, how many boat-on-boat accidents, how many dumbass drunk people on the river causing accidents, okay? The river is not always a safe place. And even when you think it's safe, you're just on a float, you're on a tube, you're on a kayak, you're on a canoe, right? It may not be safe. It may not be. And then that's the thing, because people do stupid shit all the time without even thinking about it. We see it at the ramp. We see it on the water. We see it on social media. We see it, and that's the thing, that you got to always have your head on a swivel and you've got to always be aware. And so I want my experience, on a relatively low volume area of the river. Like, it's not, that it can happen. It can happen anywhere. If you're not paying attention, or if you do recognize, use as my example, if you see people burning things on the side of your river while you're floating down, get as far away from them, cover your face up, cover your body up, and move right along as fast as you can. Don't hang around your favorite fishing spot if they're burning stuff. Don't do it, or this is what is going to happen to you. Okay? And this is day 13, 14. Okay? This is the best it's looked, okay, in 2 weeks. Okay? And so you're going to go through treatment. You're going to go through a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, a lot of where people are monitoring your breathing. Okay? Because when you get all up in this area, okay, I mean, my lymph nodes on the right side, my lymph nodes all tripled in size within 24 to 48 hours. All of them. So they were swollen. So you've got to treat that. You've got to treat the poison. You've got to treat the topical stuff. So all this stuff, just from a day of fishing out on the water. It was a beautiful day, 68 degrees, right? Like, smallies are biting. It's beautiful. Right? All in all, it was a beautiful day. Then you pay the price a day later because of someone's stupidity, okay? Of not knowing the laws, not knowing that they shouldn't do what they're doing, or knowing and not caring. And that's the other thing that we like fight here. We're starting to get some people mobilized together. We're starting to work with a couple of different groups because we're seeing things that we have not seen before on our river systems, mates. We're seeing a lot more nefarious, a lot more drug trafficking, a lot more could-be trafficking. We don't know at our ramps that the people that aren't at these ramps to fish. They're not at these ramps to enjoy the river. They're at these ramps for nefarious purposes, and they're leaving everything behind. Needles behind, trash behind, everything behind. And let's be honest, I don't care where you are in the country, U.S. Fish and Wildlife isn't gonna do anything about that. Like, they don't have the manpower to watch the ramps. They don't have the manpower to watch the river to make sure that people aren't committing illegal acts, okay, illegal environmental acts as well. And so they don't have any of that, okay? They really don't. They don't have the manpower. And then your local DNR or your wildlife or your fishing boat, I mean, they're stretched thin. And so a lot of times we were always like in the community, always like pick up other people's trash. It's what we do. Anyone who has any kind of service tradition, I don't care if it's the Boy Scouts, I don't care if it's the military like me, I don't care if it's anything, Peace Corps, I don't care what it is. But if you have a service mindset in your community, you pick up trash. Okay, you don't like it. You don't like it. No one likes to have to spend 30 minutes of their time picking up other people's crap that they disrespect. But there comes to a point where those people ruin our resources. Okay? They ruin our ramps, they ruin our banks, they ruin our river, with all this stuff. Okay? The river doesn't belong to them. Okay? Right? Individually, it belongs to all of us. And so that's what we've got to get back to, that mindset of like, look, man, you can't just burn freaking, a 200 foot, 150 foot freaking area of freaking wood and debris and vegetation or whatever because you want to get to your spot, okay, that got blocked by flooding or river stage section flooding, and have no consequence for what it does to everybody else, what it does to the river itself, the environment, people, that are on the water just like you. There has to be some form of consideration. And unfortunately, there comes to a point where people like that end up going to jail. They end up getting fined or going to jail over something stupid that they didn't know. I mean, it's just like hunting and fishing. When you violate hunting and fishing regulations because you're not in the know, because you didn't bother to take the time to understand what the regulations are. Like, that's a total disrespect for everybody. And hey, look, people out there there are people out there who do not care. Okay? There are. We all need to face up to that fact. There are people that you're never going to convince. There are people that don't think that there should be hunting licenses, don't think there should be fishing licenses, don't think that there should be any of that stuff. And so, the bottom line is we have to protect our resources, but also we have to protect our citizens and protect people so they don't go through stuff like this that's unnecessary. Right? It's just unnecessary for people, especially, in the times that we live in today for people. I'm fortunate enough, okay? I'm blessed. I have no issues whatsoever because I'm blessed. Not everyone is as fortunate. Not everybody can miss work. Not everybody can miss 2 weeks of work. Not everybody can miss, because of something that happened when they were out fishing on the river, right? Like, not everyone is as fortunate as that, mates. Like, and so people need to be real cognizant of that fact. But also, I wanted to reach out and let people know that, like, look, always have a plan. Like, I usually typically have a lot of stuff. A lot of people will get on me because I micro stuff, and I have a lot of stuff when I go out in the scout, and that people are like, why? You never know what's going to happen. Like, why? I have a full medical emergency kit, okay? Like, you're out on the river, especially if you're out on the river alone, like, and a lot of us do that. We're probably knuckleheads. We probably shouldn't do that. I've gone on a float from the Monocacy all the way up in Frederick, come all the way, a 3, 4, 5 hour float down to try to get as close to the aqueduct as possible on a Monocacy before, alone, okay? I'm just saying, we all do knucklehead stuff, okay? We all do, all right? But having a medical and emergency supply, having a backup cell phone, having things that you may or may not need, snake pincher, right? Which will pinch a snake from 3 feet away, okay? That, whatever, beaver, okay? You don't know what's going to happen to you on the river. And for me, it was a shock to me that something like I did not even recognize. Like, just still fishing, doing my thing, and didn't realize it till 12 to 16 hours after I came off the water when my face just started to go up. But it's always important to make sure that you have that stuff, because you don't know if this would have hit me faster while I was on the river, I would not have been able to see. I literally would not have been able to see, in terms of getting everything off the water. I certainly would not have been able to drive home from the ramp. Absolutely. I couldn't drive. I don't think I drove until day 5. I think I took my daughter, dropped my daughter off on day 5 or day 6. Because in the mornings, what happens is when you sleep, okay, the swelling gets worse. And so the worst time is when you wake up in the morning. Your eyes are almost completely shut in the morning. And so I couldn't do anything in the morning. By about midday, my eyes were back up, about 3/4 way, and I could read, or I could get online and all that stuff and respond to some things and let people know how I'm doing and all that stuff. But, I mean, it's just a lesson learned, mates. And so be very, very careful when you're out there. Understand that not everybody's your friend. Unfortunately, keep your head on a swivel. Understand, be very respectful of everybody on the water as much as you can. Help people in need. I took care of some people on a float during an event, during a tournament last month. Actually had to check out of the tournament at like lunchtime because I had to give my life preserver, my PFD, to a young tuber, okay, who basically they had no business being out on the water that day. None. I mean, it was like I had no business being out on the water that day, but it was a tournament day. And I'm a knucklehead. So, and I wasn't going that far, but, they had left a ramp upriver above, coming down at like 7 o'clock in the morning. But by 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock, we're talking about 12 to 15 mile an hour crosswinds on the upper Potomac, beating them up. I mean, beating these people up. They were basically in the middle of the river on the rocks because they were just in tubes, okay? And so, you got to deal with all that. And you got to make those decisions, what's important. Tournaments aren't that important. I don't care what people say at the end of the day. It's great. It's great that people fish in tournaments. It's great. But at the end of the day, no tournament is worth anything other than bragging rights. Because a month later, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Like, the only person who, I came back home and I was telling the story to some mates, and I was like, look, the only person who's going to care that I ever win a tournament is me. Because within 48 hours to 72 hours, everybody is on to the next tournament. There's always another tournament the next weekend. There's always another national event. There's always something else that people are focused on. So it's your own personal journey. It's your own personal, okay? So tournaments, at the end of the day, tournaments don't really matter. They do when you're competing. Don't get me wrong, okay? And I love the guys, everyone who competes. Tournaments are fun, but at the end of the day, tournament angling and tournaments can't supersede people, can't supersede your family, can't supersede your personal safety and your welfare and those around you and other people on the river and kids and everything. And that gets lost a lot with people, especially these idiots running and gunning on the river at freaking 80, 90 miles an hour or whatever it is, beating their chest up in their big ass boats, okay, endangering the lives of freaking kids on the 4th of July. And we saw that, okay? We saw people get killed on the 4th of July here because of stupidity, okay? And so it's important that everyone get recognized the fact that everybody wants to go out on the river and have fun. But those people that take the fun out of it, or those people that do illegal things, nefarious things, suspect things, whatever, impact everything for all of us. So just want to do this video, let everybody know I'm doing good. We're on day 13, day 14. Like I said, it's the best it's looked. Probably got another week or two. We'll see what happens. I'm going to try and get out of the water, working with whatever screen or whatever the best for being out on the water here, because I really hate missing the smallmouth crush right now. Plus, got some fun things events coming up that I want to participate in. But I hope everybody's doing well. Big shout out to everyone. I want to thank Rugged Road. I want to thank Phantom. I want to thank G Leaf here in Maryland. If you haven't checked those guys out, there's so many more people. Love to thank. I want to thank my custom bait makers, these guys are just freaking phenomenal. Site's coming. We're about ready to roll this thing out here and blow up this custom bait making for a lot of the mates that are just pure artists. So a lot going forward, a lot coming up. Sometimes things are a blessing. That's how you have to look at things, even when it's medical and you got to go through the headaches of recovery and all of that stuff. You got to look at things as a blessing. I've had a little bit more time to like get some things done and look at some things and get back into, some things that are going down. So keep an eye out on what we got going on, and I will see you guys later.